15 SAT Development LLC, State Street and Thames Street.
Come on up.
Evening, members of the board. My name is Michael Kelly, and I represent the applicant. I believe that most of you are familiar with this project, and I would like to first go through a brief overview, and then, as you know, we are seeking a total of 14 variances for this project. I will then like to go through each of those variances, and thereafter we have several experts to testify in support of the application, and they will answer any questions you may have in addition to presenting their testimony. So, as you hopefully know, this is a multi-phased project, the Belvedere being the first phase, and the second portion of this development was the parking deck, and this is the third phase of this multi-phased faceted development. There are a myriad of issues and hardships that affect the property. It's an historic overlay district, unique lot configuration, the topography of the property, it slopes down, it's in the flood zone elevations, and it's located in waterfront and downtown districts, which would contain different requirements, so we've addressed both. As the planner noted in May 2018 in his report, the type of variances required for this project depend on whether this development is viewed as a standalone project or as phase 3 of the larger Belvedere project. The planning department recommends that the project continue to be reviewed and analyzed as part of a larger Belvedere project as originally intended. I would note that in the original approvals for a building on this site, not the same building as is being presented, this phase 3 was always envisioned as part of the larger project, and as you'll hear from testimony from our experts, the infrastructure for the whole site, when it was installed for the Belvedere, was sized and to accommodate this building, phase 3. And in reliance on the development of the entire project, including the third phase of the multi-phase development, this one, there were historic light poles were installed along the street, further than would have been necessary in regard to the Belvedere. There was the paving of roadway, larger drainage system, street trees, sidewalks, sewer, and the drainage system were all sized to accommodate the location of this building where it's proposed. And as you know, further, since most of you have heard the appeals from the Historic District Commission and the Planning Board, the Planning Board granted a master plan, and on the issue concerning whether it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan was put to rest with that finding by the Planning Board, as is required and as is applicable to dimensional variances. The dimensional variances themselves are number 1, Article 4, Section 28-112, Table C, minimum lot area per dwelling unit. Required is 4,000 square feet. We're proposing 982 square feet, and the relief therefore would be approximately 3,000 square feet. You'll hear from our experts tonight about the need for the proposed units to make the project feasible. Certain requirements that were placed on the project from Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, which is assisting in financing, and the market data supporting this density, and a reasonable reading of the town comprehensive plan support the density proposed, as does the neighborhood analysis, showing the general lack of compliance with the strict density requirement in this area. The second variance is Article 4, Section 28-112, Table C, minimum rear yard setback on lot 6. Required is 10. We're proposing 2 in some locations and 1.9 at 2 locations. So we're seeking relief of 8 feet in various locations, except for 2 where the relief sought is 8.1. You'll hear from our experts tonight that the relief requested here really focused on the uniqueness of this lot and the fact that we're imposed with rear setback requirements because the site is a corner lot where the property lines actually act as a side yard. And as you know, your zoning ordinance does not require any setback along side yards in this zone. This is also reflected in the planner's report of May 7, 2018. The third variance is Article 4, Section 28-112, Table C, maximum lot coverage for structures. Required is 70, we're proposing 88, so we're seeking about 18% relief. The total project would result in about 67% lot coverage per the town planner's report of May 7, 2018. That would comply with the 70% requirement in both the W and D zones. Therefore, the inclusion of this variance was really out of an abundance of caution because the whole project would meet the 70% requirement. Article 4, Section 28-112, Table C, next variance, maximum lot coverage, structures and paving. Required would be 85%, and we're proposing 99% or a relief of 14%. I would note that this exact variance was granted in 2007 when the proposed building on this lot was first presented and approved. The next article was Article 4, Section 28-112, Table C, maximum floor area ratio. Required is 1.5. We're proposing 1.64. The relief that we're seeking is 0.14%. The FAR for the whole project in the W zone is 1.27 under the requirement. And the total in the D zone for the project is 2.89 for the Belvedere building, which is of course pre-existing, but is well above the max allowed, and we believe that this relief requested is minimal. The next class of variances would be for building dimensional variances. And this is, the first one would be Article 6, Section 28-112, Table C, building height. Required is 36 feet, or 35 feet plus 1 foot freeboard maximum from the average existing grade. And we're proposing 47 feet, 9 inches, 3 stories. And we're seeking relief to go from 11.75 to 8.5 due to the fact that the new state law, which took effect in March, Rhode Island General Laws 4524-3112, changed the measurement criteria in regard to the effective grade. I would note that a variance in the amount of 46 feet for the height was granted in 2007. Our experts will advise you and testify that the requirements of the HDC for a peaked roof as opposed to a flat roof for historic considerations significantly increased the relief requested here. And the next building dimension variance would be Article 4, Section 28-142 for projections. These variances are obviously all listed and explained in our memorandum, which we submitted to the board some time ago. And the next, in regard to projections, the requirement is that projections of windowsills, cornices, and other ornamental features may extend not more than 2 feet into a required yard. And there shall be no overhang over property lines except in downtown waterfront and R6 zones. Projections may extend up to 1 foot over the public right-of-way, provided it receives approval from the ZEO. We're proposing up to 24 inches of projection over the property line and into the public right-of-way. And you will hear from our experts that this variance is primarily required as a result of the decorative cornice feature located at the roof line of the proposed building. The planner has recommended that it be approved because the projection is high above the sidewalk and the right-of-way wouldn't interfere with any public access of the street or sidewalk. We also have some parking dimensional variances under Article 8, Section 28, 251.2A, off-street parking and loading requirements. Off-street parking and loading requirements. The required parking shall stall dimensional standards 10 by 18. We're proposing a stall 9 by 18 with a relief of 1 foot. You'll hear from our experts tonight that this design and size would be consistent with safety standards and engineering standards and won't interfere with parking. The next item would be, variance would be Article 8, Section 28, 251.2A, off-street parking and loading requirements. There's a required 24-foot minimum aisle width. We're proposing a 22-foot aisle width, which is less than 24 feet in 5 locations. So we need 2 feet relief for the aisle width in 5 locations. You'll hear from our experts that the relief requested will not vary any of the safety standards and engineering standards required for such an aisle. I would note that this variance was also granted in 2007. Next variance is Article 8, Section 28-251.2B, off-street parking and loading requirements, striping. There's a requirement for parking areas with more than 20 spaces. The painted lines for each parking stall shall be double lined, striped, such that there is a minimum of 2 feet between each stall. We are proposing a single stripe, maintaining a minimum 8 feet width between the inner edges of the parking stall. So we're seeking relief in regard to the double line issue and the 2-foot separation. You'll also hear from our experts that this will be in conformance with safety and engineering standards. Another variance we're seeking is Article 8, Section 28-251.3, off-street parking and loading requirements, setbacks. There's a required 5-foot minimum distance of parking space from a structure, 10 feet minimum from any front lot line. We're proposing approximately 11 parking spaces are within 5 feet of a structure. 5 parking spaces are within 10 feet of a front lot line. This variance was also granted in 2007, and we'll present testimony that this variance, if granted, would be consistent with safety standards and engineering standards. And next variance we have is Article 8, Section 28-251.10, off-street parking and loading requirements, screening. There's a requirement that your loading area or an off-street parking area for 4 or more cars is located in or adjacent to a residential zone or use. A landscape buffer at least 3 feet in width, together with a fence and a compact evergreen screen, not less than 5 feet in height, shall separate such area and the adjoining property or street. We're proposing planting along Thames Street and adjacent property lines to the parking are proposed, but as you'll hear from our experts, there's just not sufficient area to have a 3-foot landscape buffer, so we're seeking relief from that in lieu of that screening, as you'll hear from our experts. And the next variance would be Article 8, Section 28-251.11 ABC, off-street parking and loading requirements again, landscaping. Requires parking lot landscaping for parking lots with 20-plus spaces. Unfortunately, there's no landscaping for the parking areas proposed. Since it's a 2-level covered parking garage, and we're seeking to obviously have as many parking spaces available, and there wouldn't be any, you'll hear from our experts, there's just not going to be enough light or an ability for those plants to grow. The last is a variance, Article 3, Section 28-82 of the use regulations, which requires commercial uses within 50 foot of property lines along the street lines. We have a significant amount of commercial along the street front. but there is certain areas where we cannot locate those for various reasons that you'll hear from our experts. Before we start with our first witness, do you gentlemen have any questions of me? I'd like to have introduced for the record some exhibits that we have presented. I'd like our memorandum, which was filed along with the attached documents, introduced as an exhibit to this proceeding, and they consist of the application, plans, and narrative from Union Studio, dimensional variance inventory and the burdens associated with each. It's a report by Mr. Pimentel. Exhibit C, we had submitted Peter Scotty's report. However, he has a very, very minor update to that report, so I'd like to substitute his report this evening for the one that you have attached to our memorandum. There's a dimensional variance decision.
Okay, hold on. So is this all Exhibit 1, or are these Exhibits 1, 2, 3?
We would like to make this Exhibit 1, and I'm just going through what this consists of, Exhibit 1 with the exhibits.
Okay, all right, so it's Exhibit 1 with its own sub-items.
Yes. The exhibit...
You sure you don't want to make them as separate ones, since you got the various experts in there, and you might want to refer to them separately?
I don't really see the difference, but they're all attached to it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Exhibit 1 is huge, and if you're going forward over time and referring to different exhibits, and you're looking at Exhibit 1, are we talking about, you know, your memo of Exhibit 1, or, right, you have sub-exhibits, so that's what I'm saying. Why don't we make them why don't we take them that way?
I'll leave it up to the board to make that decision, however you like.
Yeah, let's do it that way. Break it up and make it easy for everyone.
Very good, sir.
Okay. So it'll be Exhibit 1, but it'll be Exhibit 1, and then you'll have 1A, 1B, and so forth, as they have designated.
Okay.
Right, and that goes all the way to G?
Yes.
H, okay. All right, so now, go ahead and continue, but let's just want to make sure we know what we're doing there.
All right, so Exhibit 1D would be the dimensional variance decision by this board and 2007 for all the phases of this project. Exhibit 1E would be the planning board decision of July 12, 2018. Exhibit 1F is the Superior Court decision by Judge Carnes, wherein he holds that economic infeasibility for a project is a recognizable hardship which warrants a dimensional variance being granted. Exhibit 1G is a ZBA decision of 2018, this board, for 1200 Hope Street, where the board recognized economic infeasibility as a hardship and a basis for granting dimensional variances. And Exhibit H is the Fuss and O'Neill report and plans. Exhibit 1H is Fuss and O'Neill's report and plans for the project. Now, we also have a PowerPoint presentation that we would like to add as an exhibit. It should be Exhibit 2.
See a copy of the new Mr. Scotty's new report. Nice.
And then we have some resumes. The resume of, which would be, I believe, Exhibit 3. Mr. Solicitor?
Sorry?
I have next a resume for Mr. Adaman. And on the Exhibit 3.
Yep. Yes, I'm sorry, Exhibit 3.
The exhibit for Edward Pimentel, AICP.
Could you spell the gentleman on the first exhibit?
Sure.
The stenographer?
Attemann. And that would be 3. The next resume, which I'd like to introduce, would be Exhibit 4, Edward Pimentel, AICP. Okay, next resume would be for Sean Martin, Martin. That would be Exhibit 5. So the first witness I'd like to call to address the board will be Sean Martin. You have his resume. He's from Fussell O'Neill, and he's a registered
Okay,
professional.
can you wait a minute? We haven't distributed the resumes yet to the board.
Sorry.
I guess I looked.